Many progressive organizations today are leveraging the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Patrick Lencioni has done amazing work in building a model that organizations can follow. In fact, if you're a traction implementer, someone that works with the traction or EOS, you're also familiar with the work because they reinforce the power of Patrick Lencioni's work. And so do we in our organization. But it's interesting to me because we'll do discovery work with companies and firms that have studied, implemented the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And here we are doing interviews and surveys, and we're getting feedback, and things are still amiss. And why is that? I asked myself, and what it goes back to what John Maxwell says. John Maxwell says that there's a lid, on leadership. So in essence, an organization cannot rise above the lid of the potential of the leader in itself. I should say potential, where they're performing. The potential could be beyond where they are, obviously, but folks oftentimes they level out somewhere. And in order to continue to grow an organization or grow a family business, we need to be growing too. We need to be growing ourselves in our level of consciousness. And there are limiters of things that occur. And I'm going to talk about, a couple of those limiters here. In essence, what I'm saying by that is you want to build trust, you want to be vulnerable, or you want to create accountability or create conflict, right? To build and get commitments and then drive accountability. And you're following these strategies, solid strategies. However, there's limitations that occur. And all of these limitations are tied to our level of consciousness. And unless we work on our level of consciousness, we will be massively limited in our abilities to engage and lead in a heartfelt way. So let's talk about one of the limitations. One of the limitations is our level of self-awareness. How aware are you aware of how you're being perceived? You're interacting with people, and let's say you say, I'm gonna be a better listener. So I'm being a better listener. Or I know that when I'm leading folks that they will want to trust me, and that they'll want to know that I care about them. But how do you know? How do you know that they know that you care? Are you truly able to plug in and build rapport and establish empathy with someone else? I mean, empathy in itself, I could do a whole video series on that topic. Have you learned to unpack what it means to build empathy? So our level of self-awareness, if we're not aware enough to really, truly regulate where we're at and how we're being perceived, it's going to be a massive limiter, because we can't change what we don't notice. Even with the help of a coach, it's going to be very difficult unless they're shining a light on it and we're willing to look at it. But if we have blinders on, we're not going to see it. So that's one of them. Another major issue that I see is that of the ego. The ego gets in the way in our ability to be vulnerable. The ego gets away in our ability to create conflict. Why? Well, it's really pretty simple. If I want to be vulnerable and open, I've got to have a level of security and self-love and self-esteem. And if my level of self-love, security, and self-esteem is not at a very high level, it's going to be very difficult for me to be open and transparent with you, to really put my feelings on the table, especially when I'm not even willing to be comfortable to be in my own skin and feeling what I feel today. How am I going to share that with someone on my executive team? That can be challenging. Also, when it comes to creating conflict or creating accountability, what happens is oftentimes folks, they start tolerating things because they're afraid. They're afraid of how they're going to perceived. They're afraid of maybe not being liked or what's going to happen. And so we become conflict adverse. And the root of the driver of being adverse to conflict is really truly coming from our own level of self-esteem and self-love and security. And unless we're working with someone to improve these things, we're constantly trying to override them, and we will hit a limitation over and over and over again. So the message is this: in order to integrate a practice like Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and really create transformational change, we must look in the mirror and start with ourselves. We must do the inner work and raise our level of consciousness so that we can become the person to, in essence, adopt these strategies and principles and own them at the highest, healthiest level. I'm Chris Yonker. Thanks for watching.